Hi guys, and welcome to the Trading Desk. Today, Jason and I discuss the best ways to introduce your friends to the world of watches. Stay tuned. Oh, well, hi there. Hi, welcome. Welcome back to another episode of the Trading Desk. My name is Joshua Thanos, and this is my life partner, my co-pilot, my best bud, Jason Main.
My name's Jason Main.
That's Jason Main.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back.
Yeah.
Thursdays.
It is a Thursday.
Day before Friday.
Oh, hey.
Hey, volume.
No volume. All right, guys. So, yeah, man, welcome back. We're back here, and we're going to be talking about basically the opposite of what we talked about last week. Last week, we talked about watches that nobody can afford. Now we're going to talk about watches that basically everyone can afford. But first, what do we do, Jay?
Full spectrum, all right? First one's wrist shots?
Yeah, man.
Why?
This is going to be so
Why are we
different.
doing this? Don't do it now.
Because it's what we do, man.
It is what we do. See if we can get around
Here,
that
let me describe.
gigantic box.
So what Jason has on his wrist is the 42mm Explorer 2. That's a 216570 reference. This is his newest purchase, and it has an engraving on the back. Is that right, Jason?
It does.
Why does it have an engraving on the back?
Because I was lucky enough to get this directly from Rolex.
Damn. Our friends at Rolex. Yes, if you're a Rolex employee or an employee of an authorized dealer, you, in certain circumstances, can have an employee purchase. And this is a watch that Jason will keep for the entirety of his life and beyond.
And beyond.
That's right. So this is the polar variant, the white dial. They make this watch in a white dial and a black dial, the 42mm. It has the large orange hand, throwback to the original Steve
GMT.
McQueen, right?
Yep.
Was it the six? What was the reference on that? Why am I? It's a 1665, something like that.
It's already got some love on it.
Remind me of the reference that this is the. Is it 1665? Why am I? I'm totally blanking on this. Somebody in the comments, please let me know. The original Steve McQueen Explorer with the orange hand.
Wouldn't venture to guess.
Okay. Well, it's bad that you don't know that. You have this watch. But yeah, so that's Jason's wrist, on his wrist. And similar to last week, my wrist shot, I have the Omega Seamaster 300. This is titanium and rose gold. Blue dial, blue bezel. It's a no-date, automatic movement. And so little backstory, I just picked this up a little while ago. This watch, I had the same watch, but in stainless steel with a black dial and black bezel. And I had to trade it because it didn't really wear as comfortable as I'd like it to. It moved on the wrist a bit and it wore better on a strap than it did on a bracelet, and I wanted at that time I wanted a bracelet watch, so I ended up trading that watch. And when this one came about, I put it on the wrist and immediately fell in love. It is maybe the most comfortable watch I've ever had on a bracelet. It doesn't move. The weight and balance is unbelievable on this watch. It being titanium and rose, and the retail on this is hellacious. It's a $15,000 retail. Jason, would you pay $15,000 for this watch?
I would not.
Okay.
I venture to say you did not.
No, I didn't. And pre-owned, the thing about this watch is because it wasn't a great seller through retail, this watch pre-owned you can pick up for a pretty sweet discount. So you could pick it up almost half of the original retail, probably like between $7,000 and $8,000 is really where you find these watches. Mm-hmm. And normally I have a nice rotation of watches, but I've been wearing this constantly. Kind of been scratching it up a little bit more than I like, so we'll see. I'll probably end up putting it back in the watch box and letting it chill for a bit. But yeah, that's what I had on my wrist. That's what you have on your wrist. Next segment, Jason.
Both new purchases, new acquisitions.
Yeah, basically. Yours is truly new. Mine's new to me. All right, so next segment is trending watches. That's right. This is a segment in which we discuss the watches that have the most views or clicks on our website, watchbox.com, throughout the week. So let's see. Do we have a graphic? Oh, we do. Oh, wow. All right. So starting with number 5. Jason, what is that?
That is a Big Pilot. That's the St. Exupery edition.
What brand is that, Jason?
IWC.
There you go. Okay, so at IWC, St. Exupery, this is the perpetual counter, it looks like. Mm-hmm. Is that in titanium? Or is that white gold?
No, I don't think that's titanium.
Okay, interesting. Let's see here. So that is the 5th most clicked on watch. The 4th is a very interesting watch. So you go from a watch that's probably between $20,000 and $30,000 back down to a watch that's probably between like $2,000 and $3,000. The Momo Design Pilot's Chrono.
Yeah, the retail of number 4 is what the cost of number 5 is to make, probably.
Yeah, that's probably right. Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah, and so the Momo, what kind of movements do they use? They use Salida?
I believe it's like an S2000 Salida movement.
So that'll actually, maybe we'll talk about that in the next segment. It's definitely an entry-level watch. Let's see if I can pull up the price point on that thing. And while I do that, why don't you tell us about number 3, Jay?
Yeah, so number 3 is your GMT Master 2. That's in the black and red, so the Coke variant. I should pull serial number and see how old that one is. I think that it's interesting to see the top 3 of Rolex. No
That's
surprise
right
there because you guys are all looking at them at the same time. But it's kind of the only, kind of the older vintage Coke, which is, I guess, been catching on a lot lately. We've been seeing a lot of people with the demand for the newer Pepsi, going back to like the 1675s, stuff like that. That one seems to have a little flex in the bracelet, but
yeah, it looks like it. And right now, if you're looking for value in like between the Coke and the Pepsi, the Cokes tend to be selling a little bit less than the Pepsis. I'm gonna pull up the price point here. I probably should have had these pulled up. I apologize. All right, let's see here. Emily sent the link, and okay, let's see what we got going on here.
shout out to Emily for the market research.
Yeah, well, she just pulls for us. I appreciate her doing that because I don't know how to do this. So the price point on the Momo design is $1,500, by the way.
Okay.
So
Yes.
okay, so here we have a, let's see what serial number that Coke is. That's an E serial Coke, so that's going to be what, late 90s E serial? No, that's late 80s. Late 80s E serial GMT Master 2 Coke, and this is an $84.50 sale price, which I mean, if you 2 or 3 years ago, that would be an absurd ass price. Now
Right.
that's actually like seems very reasonable. These watches, this one doesn't have box papers, but if it was a Pepsi bezel, it would probably be asking a little bit over 10.
I remember 5 years ago, those were $5,400.
Yeah, nobody cared.
Yeah.
This has patina on the dial, tritium dial. It's very interesting.
tritium.
So, all right, and that one's $84.50 is the asking price on our website, which seems probably it's going to be within market. To go back to the Big Pilot, so that watch is, okay, stainless steel perpetual counter. That's a watch that we have listed asking $18,950. So for perpetual counter, Big Pilot, the 5th most clicked on watch this week has been a watch that has an asking price of $18,950. The Momo, $1,500 watch. Again, super entry price.
So one of the nice things with that Big Pilot, when you get a perpetual calendar in a watch of that size, is how much dial real estate you get to be able to display the perpetual calendar. Sometimes you get these 37 millimeters, and they're just everything's crunched together. It's one of the nice layouts with this dial.
I like the dial real estate. I like it's a good term. And what's really cool about the IWC perpetual calendars is that you can set them all with the crown.
Yeah.
And so people don't realize that there's no pushers for that watch. The Portuguese is the same way. I had a customer who bought one from me, and he was like, "Hey, like, how do I set this?" I'm like, "It's all on the crown. It's very simple." I actually sent him a video that Tim made. So there's some value there too. All right, so we have $19,000 IWC Big Pilot perpetual calendar, a Momo design, Pilot's Chrono entry level piece for a $1,500.
Which kind of fits what we're talking about later in the show.
Exactly. An $8,500, I guess you call it vintage GMT Master 2 Coke and Steel. Then the next watch, which is probably out of the lineup, my favorite.
Really?
It's absurd. It's silly. It's got the wood teak dial, right?
Yeah.
So that's let's see what the reference was on that piece. So this is a vintage Datejust in 18K gold. This is a 36 millimeter with a like a teak wood dial. Thing is unbelievable.
It's pretty cool.
That is a 7.5 million serial. So I don't have it off the top of my head. I can look it up. I have a chart. If anybody's watching, you guys can throw it up in the chat. 7.4 million serial. So it's going to be 70s, I believe. 1970s gold Datejust on a strap. That watch is, I mean, it's classy, right? That's it.
It's a good way to get a lot of bang for the buck. If it had a bracelet, you're talking about much more money. What do we have this listed for?
$8,000, $79.50.
Yeah, so for $8,000 or sub $8,000 gold Rolex, that's not a president, and it's got a lot of wrist presence.
Yeah.
So long as you're comfortable wearing the 36 millimeter.
Well, it's unisex.
Yeah,
I mean, I
it's
could
a
wear
cool
a 36 millimeter in some situations. I would, not as a sport watch, not as an everyday, but that's a cool watch to go out maybe on a Saturday night with your chick if you're going to some funky party or something.
Right.
You want something that's low key, but also maybe a conversation piece. It's a vintage Rolex, all right. And then the last thing, let's throw the graphic up one more time. The last one that's not a Zenith, is that? No, it's a 16520. Yeah, so that is the Zenith Movement Daytona. So this is a $24,000 stainless steel Daytona. So if we remember correctly, maybe this might allude to our topic for next week, which we're going to talk about the current Rolex and Patek bubble. But this was a watch that 3.5, 4, 5 years ago was a watch that dealers like us were paying as low as $5,000 and as much as $7,000 for, selling it for as little as $7,000 and as much as like $8,000 or $9,000. So this is a product of the Rolex bubble, but that's the number one most viewed watch of the week. So what does that tell us? I know that there was an auction the other night. I know Patek 5711 Blue went for $70,000.
It's crazy.
So things keep going up.
Right.
So I'm guessing that this is a product of the Rolex bubble. I wonder which one of these watches will sell by next week.
The Momo for sure.
I think that was my guess too. The Momo. I actually had a customer asking me about the date just this week. We were trying to work out a trade, but I think he decided it was a little too small for his wrist. But
it's a cool piece, but it's so quirky that it's definitely not your only Rolex.
I would love. So my wife has a stainless steel Cartier. I've been wanting to get her into watches on straps. She's doesn't wear watches on straps. I would absolutely love to purchase that watch for her. Maybe buy a few different colored straps, like some purple, green, or something.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Especially in
Some
Miami,
red.
we're going out in downtown Miami or Fort Lauderdale or even West Palm Beach or Delray and Atlantic Ave. That would be a cool, funky watch to wear. And she takes good care of her watches. She doesn't beat the hell out of them like I do. So interesting. So maybe the Rolex will be the watch that gets sold quick.
Sold quickly to you.
All right, guys, that was trending watches. Let's see here. We have any good comments?
Yeah, people are talking. As they always are.
Thank you, Diego OG. He says 7.4 million a series is a 1983. So that's a 1983 Rolex. Okay, let's put this in perspective. So you have a Daytona, okay, a chronograph with no date, and it's a piece that's nice everyday wear, but it's not very useful in terms of the function of the watch, right? And it's a watch that used to trade for well under 10. And that's a $24,000 watch now. Then next to it, you have a true vintage, solid gold date just on a Rolex strap and Rolex buckle, asking $7,500. Like, where's the value? So one thing that I've been talking about a lot lately is value for dollars versus the buy and the sell. So some watches are going to be watches that you buy because the value's in the buy and the sell. So you're buying this watch and it'll probably go up in value in the next few years, and then you'll sell it for more dollars. Then there's value for dollars, right? So maybe if you buy that date just, that you might not be able to get what you paid out of the watch.
Right.
It might cost you $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 to own that watch for 5 or 6 years. There's a slight possibility it goes up, but the value for dollars, what you get for the amount of money you're spending, it's without a doubt it's in the date just, right?
Yeah, I would say it's also probably got the longest lifespan in a collection. I think that's special enough that you put that in your collection, you keep it for a long time.
Yeah.
You buy the Daytona, if the market dumps, more than likely somebody's going to sell it. Unless they're replacing one that they used to have or something like that. The other watches are all value propositions, or I don't think you're keeping the IWC for more than 2 or 3 years. Seems to be the trend with the big pilots. So I definitely think the date just is probably the piece that sticks around from that top 5.
Well, it's not going to be highly tradable either, really. So that's probably...
We were talking about that earlier with like one of the watches in your collection, one in mine. It's it's a forever watch because, what I'm going to get for it just doesn't make sense. So
Right. All right, cool. So that was trending watches for the week. If you guys are surprised by any of this, send us an email. Send one to Jay. All right. So next segment, what we want to talk about, the meat of the show today, is basically what we described in the title, which is how to get your friends into watches. So how do you introduce the world of watches to your friends? If you're like me, you have a lot of friends who know nothing about watches, don't understand why people spend any money on watches, and almost scoff and laugh at it, right?
I think we've all been there. Anytime you collect something and people know that you collect it, then you become that guy, and they want to know why you see value there, or what what your thought process is. Guys will walk over and say, "Oh, you're the watch guy. What are you wearing?
Right?
Why would you spend that kind of money on a watch? Like, how do you bridge that topic to them and kind of convey what you see?" And that's kind of what we want to talk about.
Right. So, there's ways to go about it. So if I showed, say, my watch to a buddy of mine and told him, yeah, this is a $15,000 retail, he doesn't understand why this watch would be worth $15,000, or why somebody would pay that, or why the purchase price is. So I have friends who, monetarily, financially, are much more successful than me, making 2, 3, 4 times the amount of money that I do, but they can't bring themselves to spend that kind of money on a luxury good or something that they put on their wrist. They
maybe
look at it
they've
like it's
even-
frivolous, right?
They've never even tried to justify that kind of expense. You know, they
just gotta wrap their head
could.
around
They
it.
just never really thought about why a watch would cost that or why they would spend that on it because they're perfectly content with whatever they wear or
Right.
they don't wear something.
Exactly. So you have two options. You can give them double middle fingers and you say, hey, man, keep walking. Or if they're a good friend that you care about and you want to share your love for watches because, once you go down the rabbit hole, there's true, like it's a fun hobby. There is a lot of love that goes into it, right? You fall in love with watches because it's something that, what else can you buy besides your shoes? What else can you put on your body every single day? Right? You're not going to wear the same shoes, same clothes every day. You're not going to wear, right? So you have something that's, number one, it's built to last. Number two, there is monetary value in it. So it's something you can buy and sell if you wanted to. And it's something that you can truly have a connection with.
Sure.
It's a mechanical machine. So if you're going to go the route of trying to get your guys to understand that, well, there's a lot of watches that you can kind of ease your way into, have these guys ease their way into the world without breaking the bank and starting at a smaller price point, no matter how much money, say, your friend has or family member has, it's easier, especially because if the hang up is the price point, which it seems like it is for most people.
I think it's always like the first barrier to entry is the price because that's what you have to justify. If they're to the point where they're considering a watch, then they've already decided like the concept of wearing a watch works for them. So you're not so much trying to overcome like, because you don't use your phone or whatever. They're going to buy a watch, then next thing is the price. These are also good price points when you're considering that maybe how you get your friend into watches is you give them one.
Right.
Or you gift something to them, which I know both you and I have done in the past. And I've never given somebody a watch that didn't turn into them. Either every time I see them, they love what they're wearing and they're still wearing it. And they're like, man, this is great. Or now they have a whole collection.
Right.
So it's definitely, like you said, it's a rabbit hole. We all know it. We've all been on the hunt for the next piece and had to pump the brakes and slow ourselves down. It can definitely become a consuming habit. So
and there's
I think
something,
we got some cool stuff to
absolutely.
of talk about now.
And there's something to introducing a friend into a new culture, new world of this stuff.
Now you're his guy.
You're his guy, but you guys, if you, like for me, Jason and I are talking about watches constantly, whether it's buying and selling for business or for our jobs, or it's just, hey man, what do you like? Constantly we have chat groups where we're just shooting things back and forth. So it's good to kind of build a community because, listen, part of this is having a community. So let me start with a watch that actually I did this for a buddy of mine, and it's the Fortis B42. I think we have a picture of that we can pull up. I sent it into our guys here. So if we could pull it up. But so this watch, for a lot of watch guys, is meaningless. It might be an ugly watch. It's also a brand that doesn't carry a lot of weight. But for a micro brand and independent, they make some quality watches. Does that have a Value 7750 in there?
I believe it does.
Okay.
It's probably a 53 variant.
Okay.
But I can actually contest because we've been out drinking, the three of us, and he's confessed his love for that watch, even though he has other watches now.
Yeah.
That's the one that started it for him. And
a buddy of mine named Ryan. So start it back here. He had to choose between two watches for his wedding gift from his father. It was between a ceramic Submariner and a a TAG Heuer Carrera, which at that point this was probably about 7-8 years ago. The price points were within a few thousand of each other. Now they're miles apart. But he ended up getting the TAG Heuer just because he liked the way it looked.
Yeah.
Probably, it was a rookie mistake. We all make those, right? So he had that watch, and it's broken a few times. He doesn't really wear it, doesn't love it. So I've gotten into watches. This is a buddy of mine that I've known for 15 years. So obviously, since I've gotten into watches, I've been, collecting watches here and there. So I ended up with this Fortis, and it just didn't really have a spot in my collection. It ended up being a little bit too big for my wrist. He's 6'3", and again, owns his own company, can easily afford. He can buy Rolex Presidents all day long if he wanted to, right? But he just never understood why to spend this kind of money. So I gifted him the Fortis, and it started his obsession, right? He's learned about the movement. He understands the different the complications on the watch. It is a chronograph. It is a day and a date. So it was a great starter watch for a buddy of mine. Didn't really cost me much because they don't trade for a ton, but it was a great entry into the world of watches. So we have a list of watches on our table here, as well as some watches that we talked about. We have some pictures. So Jay, what do you think? So you have a little bit more experience, kind of. So your background, you worked for a company that was owned by Torno called, was it Gear?
Yeah, it was Watch Gear. It was basically a it was the same company, but it was kind of like branded out to be like the entry level, first floor usually of most stores, where second, third floor you ascend in cost as you get up. So it's kind of like the entry level stuff. A lot of Hamilton, a lot of Tissot, a lot of bang for the buck stuff. Oris, Longines. Basically, I would say $1,000 to $3,000 range, which is
what we're talking about today.
What we're talking about today. These are excellent entry level watches. These are excellent. Starting to, there was Seiko in there as well, but excellent, starting to appreciate the brands, learning some history. You're not buying something that was came up yesterday.
Sure.
These brands they've been around. They make good stuff. So, yeah, we got some cool stuff. Probably one of my all-time favorite bang for the buck watches. We have a still. I don't have the watch on the table, but the Hamilton X-Wind.
Oh yeah. So I never understood Hamilton. Can you pitch me a Hamilton real quick?
Hamilton. So it's been a long time since I've pitched a Hamilton, but in my recollection, I believe it was 1884. I'll probably get killed in the comments on there. So Lancaster, PA. It's originally an American watch company.
Oh, just down the street here.
Yeah, they were acquired by Swatch Group some years ago. All Swiss-made, American origin, but Swiss-made company. Out of Swatch Group, sapphire crystals. Majority of the pieces are automatic movements.
So the X-One's automatic?
So this is an automatic chronograph. You'll see the inverted date, which is kind of cool on this piece.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
It's a 7750 variant movement. Sapphire crystal, it's 44 millimeters. It's got a pretty good size on the wrist. This is at 15. I think at the time it was like 1545 retail. It could be a little higher now. I'm not sure. But this, for the longest time, and I think it may still held the record as the most sold Hamilton that exists in the history of the company. They just would fly off the shelves. At $1,500, it's an automatic chronograph, date, Swiss made. With a pretty solid movement. Yeah.
Wow.
So
is that
they were
class,
tremendous values. No, it's a Tang. It's like a double tanged buckle, but they did make a DePoint version of this on limited editions that were like black PVD. But I owned one of these 3 times. And then, they ended up moving out of the collection. I had to buy another one, move it out of the collection.
You can always trade it if you want, right?
Yeah, it's a cool piece. It's a watch that you can spend $1,500 on, and it's always worth the G.
Sure.
So that was always my go-to suggestion for a guy that wanted something that was Breitling-esque or chronograph.
Sure, without spending $4 or $5 grand on
but not spending $5,000. Yeah, exactly.
All right, so perfect. So Hamilton, without a doubt, especially, if you have a guy who, American company, a little bit bigger guy, 44 millimeter, it has heritage to it. It's a fantastic way to start.
There's a bunch of other stuff. I mean, the show's too short to get into it, but the khaki field, the frogmen, there's probably 5 or 6 very, very solid picks.
Sure.
And then, they make, 120 SKUs. There's tons of watches, just like Tissot. But,
we're getting some love in the chat box for Hamilton, too. This is a good thing. No trolls today. Fantastic.
What else you want to jump into?
So here's a watch that I've actually given as a gift as well. So Anonimo, if you guys know, I like Panerai. Jason likes Panerai, too.
Yeah.
Anonimo is a brand that is an offshoot started by watchmakers from Panerai. When Panerai moved from Italy to Switzerland, they started this brand called Anonimo. It's gone out of business, I think, multiple times. So this is the newest iteration. This is called the Nautilo, which we're not going to laugh about.
Questionable, but
yeah, and it has an interesting K shape. But I mean, these watches are less than $3,000 list price. So actually, I bought one of these on an impulse because we had them. We got a whole ton of them. So I bought one of these with a ceramic bezel on an impulse. So it wore a little bit too big for my wrist. See the lugs, unlike my Panerai Luminor, the lugs are actually kind of long here. So it ended up being a little bit too large for my wrist. So I ended up gifting it to another friend of mine, a mechanic friend, who it was sort of like a wedding present. He wore like a Nixon watch, like a $60 Nixon watch. So I mean, he gets a watch, $2,500 watch. That's is this Italian made? No, it's Swiss made, right?
Yeah, it's Swiss.
So
who told you not to buy that on an impulse?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah,
Jason.
I was very much against that, and he did it anyways.
Right.
But found a good home.
If you guys haven't noticed, one guy here is what's the word I'm looking for? he's gonna you're gonna research and make sure you're making the right decision. Whereas
Sure.
I'm pulling, especially with watching that.
Yeah, you're shooting off the hip.
Right. So, but cool watch, cool history. Anonimo, Italian watch company. He likes Ferrari cars. So I said, hey, this is an Italian watch, well made, blah, blah, blah. So he wears that watch on a rubber strap. It's fantastic. Some other brands. What do we have here, Jay?
Yeah, we pulled this is kind of a cool piece.
Oh, the Nomos.
Yeah, this is the I don't know if we have a still of a watch, but this is the Nomos Zurich. This is the 40 millimeter, I believe. It's a cool piece. Here, I'm going to show you my favorite part of pretty much any Nomos, and it's this movement, which to me is like, that's one of the only reasons to buy a Nomos. Get this great finishing on a pretty much value-oriented price point, but this is a hardcore watch to get people into watches. So speaking to our for the price point, right? Automatic. It's not your conventional Swiss, so it's something different.
Sure.
Date at the 6 o'clock, something different. Sub-seconds, so it's got a complication, which is something different. So this is ticking a lot of boxes. It really depends on who the guy is that you're giving the watch to or you're suggesting this for. If he's a very clean, kind of like architectural individual, I think this watch works.
If he has an office job.
Yeah, it's a very much a 9 to 5 type of watch, but for the type of person that's very analytical and very calm mannered, it's not a watch that I think you're strapping to your wrist and going out to the bar or going. This is very much a kind of work casual type of watch. Yeah.
Well, so if you have a friend who's an engineer, something like that, who is into mechanics, but also
the little fine details, right?
Right. Yeah. Exactly. That's a watch you can stare at the movement all the time, and so all day long. Price point pre-owned, you can find that for like $3,500 or less. So that's going to be in the top end range of all these watches here, but it's also by far the most finished movement.
Yes.
So Nomos is a good way to go too. Yeah. If you have somebody who's a little bit more straight laced and is not a party animal, is not like a sports guy or whatever, that's a fantastic watch to get them into.
It's pretty much the opposite of this watch.
Right. So this watch is
the other side of the spectrum,
Bay, right?
So yeah, Tudor Black Bay.
So if your guy likes Rolex,
I mean,
right?
Yeah, for a guy that likes the styling of Rolex but doesn't quite understand what Rolex is or why it costs what it costs, wants something that is a good starting point, or your guy that has all the for me this is a kind of a fair player because you can have Rolexes and then have this watch. It doesn't compete one on one, so this is versatile. This is a good type of watch where you can give him this and this will start him, but it doesn't have to leave the collection once he's done.
Yeah.
Because it can stick around. It's versatile. But this is the opposite. So this is, you can wear this all the time. It's sporty. It can be a little dressy on this strap with the distress, but solid movement, nothing to look at. It's, closed case back as opposed to the Nomos, which, the smoke show is on the back of the, with the exhibition case back.
Oh, yeah.
But, this is pretty much your awesome tool watch for, call it sub $3,000.
This is probably the most civilized chat box I've seen since we started this. Everyone's like, hey, guys, nice watches. Because it's true, because no matter how much you can spend, whatever you can afford, if you're buying Patek's, if you're buying Longas and Richard Milles even, you can, if you like watches, these are all watches that you can,
wait
for the most
until
part.
they see what's in here.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we got to hurry this up too.
All right.
So you have a tool watch from a company that's basically derived from Rolex. So that's also a good entry level. Let's run through these pretty quickly. We'll leave this one to last because I know it's your
Bell & Ross.
Yeah, I like Bell & Ross. I got a few.
The first time I started shelling out watches in some great number was Bell & Ross. I was selling 5, 6, 7 Bell & Rosses a week. Special editions, limited editions, all these pieces. So this is I guess kind of hard to see on the black. So that's the 0192, so the original 46 millimeter case, which nowadays most people like the
42.
I got the 43 case.
It's nice.
But the 01 was nice because it was the first piece that actually had like a legitimate 2-piece case. So this is the OG. This is with the yellow as a limited edition.
Yeah. Is that like a East Coast limited edition or something? I know that was like a big deal back in the day.
I'm not sure.
So whatever. So
is.
again, you guys can decide.
Pieces.
Like you have a friend who's a pilot. You have a guy who likes like funky watches, a little bit more aggressive. You have a square case from a brand that doesn't have a ton of history, but is honest in what it does for the most part, I think. Right. All right. What else we have? We have an Omega. So an Omega Aquaterra. So we could have went for a Seamaster, we could have went for a Speedmaster, but if you want something that's a little bit lower price point, if you want something that is well made and very versatile, so a watch that somebody can wear all the time, Aquaterra is a good watch because it's often overlooked, right? So this is in between this is basically a dress style of their Seamaster, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's automatic movement, and you can find this watch for probably like $3,500 as well. So this is a great everyday watch. It's a good starter watch, and like that watch, if you spend like $3,000 for that watch, you're never going to get less than $2,000 for it. So it'll if you're selling it to somebody who's going to resell, but you can easily sell this on a private sale for what you paid for in a watch like this. So it's a great starter watch, but it's also a watch that can stay in your collection and kind of move.
It's also a good piece with a lot going on with the movement and all that dial the completion of the dial, but in a smaller package. So if somebody, it's the smallest watch up here.
What's the teak dial they call it, right?
Right, but diameter wise, it's the smallest watch on the table.
Is it?
So,
but look, was it 39? Here, let me see. Put it on my wrist. So I have about a 7-inch wrist. So it's getting a little bit thicker, and I got to lose some weight. All right. So what do we got here? I mean, I could absolutely wear this watch. We were trying this before. So it's got long lugs.
I prefer the newer version on the rubber strap.
Yeah, the rubber straps are really cool. There's a lot of different variants. But this is just like a good everyday watch. This is also
small on you,
I guess. I don't know. I feel like it wears nice. I could wear this watch. But this can be worn casual or it can be worn in the office.
It's also a good unisex option,
without a doubt too. Yeah. But if your friend's a mechanic, it's probably not a good watch for them.
Yeah.
All right. And the last watch on the table, besides the one in the box, is a watch that probably is Jason's least favorite. Though I don't know what it is about. It's a TAG Heuer Carrera. This is an old school one. It's super cheap, man. You can get these things. Even this one might have had a $4,000 or $5,000 retail. You can find these for less than $2,000 a lot of times. So it's a name that. So I know when I was growing up, there was 2 brands I knew of in terms of watches. It was Rolex and it was TAG Heuer. That's the kind of marketing they do. Both companies market to the layman, right? You don't have to be a watch guy to know what that is. So a lot of my friends, before I got into the watch world, guys who, if they got any money or they got a gift, a lot of times it ended up being a TAG Heuer. So it's well respected, maybe not in the watch community because we all understand why, because we're snobs. This is what happens. But it's still like a good everyday watch. If you buy it pre-owned, it's not going to cost you a ton to get out of. It's highly tradable. It's a nice chronograph, and it's respectable. Jason's face when I said this watch was respectable. I think you disagreed. But also a nice, a decent price point. It's a comfortable watch. It's not a throwaway, but it's also terrible, right? All right. So the last watch is a watch that I really
We're doing an unveiling.
Yeah. I like this watch, and part of what we're talking about today too is if you get somebody into watches, say you're going to gift them a watch.
I just want to give you guys the scope of what we're talking about here.
As watch guys, a lot of times, the impression of a box is gone after the first one you buy, right? Maybe like my first watch was a Painter. I had a really nice Pearwood box, and I thought it was amazing. Then I put it in the closet, and it just takes up space. But it really makes an impression on you. So when you buy a watch like this is a $2,600 retail. Longines, the Big Eye chronograph.
Yeah, let's get the box.
Yeah, just get the box here. So you can see what we're looking at here. So by the way, so you spend, the retail is $2,600. You might not have to spend that on there. Can we get a close-up of the box on camera?
Think of the message that you're sending across when your friend opens this box up.
It's a real wood. I don't know what kind of wood it is. Is it real wood?
I would assume.
It's not real, whatever. But it's an impressive package. I mean, this watch, by the way, I think on the table is my favorite. In fact, I'm going to add this to my collection. And it's between this and the Nomos.
I mean, it's pretty. No, for me, I think it would be between that or the Black Bay. But I think the Big Eye probably.
Longines is an interesting company. They don't really have a great following in the U.S. They are humongous in Europe and in Asia, right? Oh, here. Pull it open under the insert. It comes with a booklet too.
Yeah, look. So the watch is badged, right? There's a presentation aspect to that. It's all about the presentation in something like this. Similar, I've talked about. It comes with a hard book, which is something cool. Pride of ownership.
Just all adding a little bit of value.
And I've talked about, like with the Speedmaster, the box set that comes with that for an inexpensive watch.
So yeah, Speedmaster is a good one too, but you're gonna have to spend if you're buying a new one.
But Longines is known for this. So like the Legend Diver,
yeah, I like that. It's true.
The Legend Diver comes in a box set that's incredible for the price point. Like this is this is an awesome gift watch.
This is
And
a
not only
fantastic
that, but
gift
it's a fantastic watch. Like, it's a good, cheap chronograph
So-
that you could own and,
Here, get a
and
close-up
wear
watch.
and not worry about beating up, too.
Right. So $2,600 retail. It looks like a Brigade Type 21. It comes from a company that makes a lot of watches, but also sells a lot of watches.
Right.
This is not a company that liquidates their watches through dealers and things like this. They make a ton of watches and they sell them all. Maybe not in the U.S. They don't have a huge name, but it's a respectable company.
That's a handsome watch.
It's a good-looking watch. This one has is it in-house movement? What was the movement again?
I think they call it the L21.
L21.
Yeah.
So they're part of Swatch Group, and so they have a lot of support, right? This movement, I think she had 62-hour power reserve.
I believe so.
Yeah, automatic. It's a chrono. This is an awesome watch to wear every day. You can swap up the straps. This is a fantastic watch for a starter or for a gift. Either way, again, the presentation. That's why we brought the box set here.
But it's versatile. So, like, both of us have other watches in our collection and would add this. Whether or not it sticks around for years, I don't know. But I'd wear that for a little while.
Hell yeah. You know what? So I have like one of my first watches was a Stoic Chronograph. So it's like they have unmarked dials. This one would take the place of that Stoa. I could probably sell that Stoa for like $500.
Yeah, and the cool thing too is like they have history. They've been around a long time. They're respectable.
The column wheel chrono is what you get with this.
yeah,
So there's value.
It's got the reason that watch gets its name, the big eye, is because of that offset. And Josh and I are actually have different opinions on that. So going in, we actually had a training last night for Longines, which is where Josh got that sick hat. And I'm sure if this show results in any Longines sales, maybe we could find a hat for somebody. But I was going into that training wanting to see this watch. I think this is the watch that we both wanted to see, and I was a little bit happy that big eye wasn't as drastic on the actual watch in person as I thought it was going to be. And you were of the opposite opinion. You were kind of hoping it was going to be a little bit more drastic. But I think the watch is really, really clean the way it's laid out. Definitely has its military-esque heritage front and center. I actually dig the big pushers. I think it makes the watch look a little bit bigger. It's
people
comfortable.
are saying in the chat box about like how the pushers are too big, but on the wrist, so the watch sits flat, but the pushers sit a bit high.
Yeah, it's
I don't know if you can get it. See here. So you don't. It's not something they don't dig into the wrist. It's very reasonable. It's the size and the fit and the finish is very, very reasonable on this watch. So look, it doesn't. I mean, if I gotta you understand.
So where are you going to get
my
a
wrist.
column wheel chronograph from a Swiss-made watch company with a
$2,500
sapphire crystal for that kind of money?
So I'm saying if you're not a big chrono guy, which I'm not, I don't think you are either.
I'm not. No.
It's a good watch if you want to have a chrono in the just to say, hey, I got a chrono in the collection. It's good that way, but it's also, it's also a good gift watch. So it's a good watch you could buy for yourself. Say whatever you spend less than $2,500 on the watch, you have it for a few years. Then you meet somebody and you want to get them into watches or whatever it may be, you gift it, and it's not going to kill you, right?
Yeah, I think I'd be hard pressed to choose that over a Legend Diver, just because I love the Legend Diver.
I like the Legend Diver as well.
But
I have both, though.
it's pretty awesome. I gotta say, I hadn't put one on my wrist for any extended amount of time and thought about it, but I do like the watch. I definitely would change that strap though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess we got some comments here saying
you put that on like a Horween brown strap.
Oh hell yeah, that'd be great, man. Some people are not really loving the Longines. The company makes a ton of watches. That's what they do, but they sell them all. I mean, that's one thing. Like not every company. There's companies that make a tiny fraction of their watches, and a lot
can't sell them all.
Yeah, can't sell them all.
I don't understand how you could. I mean, I guess I don't know. Everybody's opinion is their own opinion. I don't understand the hate that sometimes Longines gets. They're every bit the watch that some of these other entry level watches are, and for the price point, I don't think you can argue that there's something else that's made better.
Right, like I think the idea
you got your running second hand. Yeah, I mean they know who they are. They cater to that 1 to call it mid $3,500 price range, and they do it really really well.
Tissot's with Swatch, right?
Tissot Swatch.
So like that's what they were saying, that their idea is that they're not going down into the Tissot range and they're not going up into the Omega range. So it's $1,000 to $3,000 watches.
The only watch that I would say in Swatch Group they get some major competition with is Hamilton. And in that regard, there's way more Hamiltons that I would buy before Longines. Just in comparison, I could definitely own 5 or 6 Hamiltons really comfortably, and there's maybe 2 or 3 Longines. But for argument's sake, I mean, they make some. Hamilton's not putting out anything with the column wheel chrono
No.
at this price point. Now, do they have stuff with 7750s and 3s and 2s? Yes. But, this watch, I think, bang for the buck, is probably the coolest thing on this table.
Cool, man.
In my opinion.
So the last thing I want to say is just want to point out that there's a gentleman named 1989 OSU, and he thinks Jason has a very cute, nice wrist.
Okay.
All right, guys. So we ran a little bit long. We thank you guys for playing along with us. I think this was fun. It was a good discussion. Hopefully, this kind of opened your eyes up. If you have friends who
Give them some watches.
All right, give your friends some watches. All right, as always, subscribe. We're up to 73,000 subscribers. We want to get to 75 by next week, so tell all your friends. We only need 2,000 of your friends. Tell them to subscribe. Check us out on Facebook. Check us out on Instagram. Jason's got a new Instagram. You're on Instagram now, Jason. What's your Instagram handle?
It's Evo Watches.
Evo_watches. I'm Mr. Thanos. This is Jason Main. Check us out. See you next week.